All right, it's 9:02. I think we can start. Welcome, everybody, to yet another Podman Desktop Community Meeting. Today, September 25th, 2025. We have a good full agenda today. Let me share some slides. Uh, So the agenda today has some updates about how we are doing with the current updates on Podman Desktop team, some achievements, some milestones, a couple of demos, and a discussion on some UX updates. So I will hand it over to Matt. I'm wondering if Matt has joined. Yes, Matt. Do you want me to still continue sharing the screens?
Yeah, that would be easy. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next slide, though, please. All right. So the first thing, I think we're all super excited that Podman Desktop reached 3 million downloads a couple of weeks ago now. But yeah, so we were super proud of the team, super thankful for everyone that helped us, of course, download, but also helped us with feedback and gave us everything we could use to make the product as good as it can be. So to thank everyone, we did make a little website that you can check. It's 3m.podman-desktop.io. Dash podman-desktop.io. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's open it. So you can see there's seals for basically every one of you. So there's so many seals swimming around here. The animation doesn't come through super good through Zoom, but I can assure you it looks awesome if you do look at it yourself. And there's also a blog included as well if you want to read more about it. Yeah. Go back to the next slide. The other thing I will announce super quickly is so not yet, but in a couple of days, Hacktober Fest will start. So it's a celebration that a lot of open source projects all together make super open their projects and make sure that everyone can join and contribute to them. And we as Podman Desktop are joining. So to be able to join, you first have to go to hacktoberfest.com and register. You'll be able to get your first badge there already. Just by joining and registering, and then keep an eye on our blog. Of course, near the beginning of October, you'll see an announcement on what issues will be good to contribute, which issues we would like some community help on. So definitely check that out. It'll be there very soon.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Those were the latest updates on Podman Desktop. We also have our new release coming up, which should be out in a couple of weeks. Release number is 1.22. So there should be some more information on that as well. Moving forward, I think we'll start with the demo. Let me start with that. Give me 1 second. For the demo, I'm going to play the video, and Florent is here if there are more questions that he could answer.
Yep.
Let's begin with that one. Before I do that, I think last time it was an issue. Let me stop the sharing and share the tab instead, which allows us to share the volume. Give me 1 second. All right, here goes.
Hello and welcome. In this quick overview, we'll take a look at the Apple Container Extension. Apple recently released their Container project, which lets you run containers on macOS 26. And this extension makes it easy to manage Apple containers right from the app. To get started, open the extension catalog and search for the Apple Container extension. If you don't see it immediately, just use the search bar. Click Install, and the extension will download and start automatically. Once installed, go to the Containers tab. Here, you'll see any running containers, along with a new Apple Environment column. If you switch to the Images section, you can browse your container images. Clicking on an image shows more details, and you can even delete it by hitting the Delete button. It will be removed from your computer. Managing containers is just as easy. Click on a container to view its logs or inspect it for more information. You can stop a container and restart it later, all from the interface. Support for the extension is still growing, so some features, like running commands in a terminal inside a container, may be added in the future. And that's it. You're ready to start exploring Apple containers with Podman Desktop.
Do you have questions?
Yeah. Right. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat either.
Yes.
Yes, Tim. All right. If there are no more questions, I would like to move ahead to the next demo. It is a Microshift extension. Let me begin that one. Give me 1 second.
In this quick walkthrough, we'll show you how to get up and running with Podman Desktop and the Minc extension to run Microshift in a container. Let's begin by opening Podman Desktop and checking that the Minc extension is running. Go to the Resources section and verify that the Minc cluster is up and running. Currently, I have a cluster with 2 containers. One is a Redis container, and the other is a front-end container that's connected to the database. These are 2 separate containers. Let's first check if I can connect to the HTTP port of the front-end container. Now, I'm going to create a pod from these 2 containers and name it my pod. I'll expose only the HTTP port to the outside world, since the Redis port is meant for internal use only. Once the pod is created, I check that it's running. By going to the containers page, I can see both containers are up, and I'm able to connect to the front-end container via HTTP. The counter is back to 1, since this is a fresh start for the new container. Now I want to deploy this pod to my Microshift cluster. To do this, I use the Deploy to Kubernetes feature in Podman Desktop. I make sure the Create OpenShift Routes option is checked. This will automatically create a route for the front-end container. Once the pod is deployed, I click on the newly created route and can successfully connect to the front end. I just need to skip the certificate warning, since it's using a self-signed certificate. So, we've just deployed a pod from Podman running locally to a Microshift cluster, also running locally. If I navigate to the Kubernetes section in the left-hand sidebar, I can see the deployed pod, as well as the new service and route that were created. The route is the same one from the previous step, and I can click on it to connect. This works because when we created the cluster, we exposed port 443 of the Microshift cluster to port 443 on the host. This allows me to access the route via the enip.io domain using HTTPS. Now, let's look at how it works when I build a container image locally. This time, I'll use a local container file to build a new image. It's based on an HTTPD server with a simple UI that has a purple background. I'll build the image and tag it as my local HTTPD. Usually when deploying pods, images are pulled from a remote registry. But with the Minc extension, we want to emphasize that once you build the image, it's immediately available in the Microshift cluster. To confirm this, I connect to the microshift cluster and run Crystal images. We can see that the image we just built is already present in the cluster. Let's now start a container from this image and connect to it. As expected, it's a very simple page with a purple background. Now I'll use the Podify feature to convert this container into a pod. This time, I'll expose only port 8080 for testing purposes. I'll name the pod my custom image pod. With the pod now running in my local Podman instance, I want to deploy it to the microshift cluster. I click Deploy to Kubernetes, and again, make sure the Create OpenShift Routes checkbox is selected. This sets up a route for the front end. The route is created, so let's connect to it. This demonstration shows just how fast and efficient the inner loop can be. With just a few clicks, I built a container image locally, and it was instantly available and running in a Kubernetes cluster, powered by microshift. No need to push to a remote registry. It's a smooth and seamless workflow for rapid development and testing.
All right. Any questions on those? Both the videos are available on our YouTube channel to view.
I had a really quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
So, what's the difference between, for example, using a kind cluster versus the microshift? Is microshift basically like a mini OpenShift?
Yeah, it's like a mini OpenShift. So you will have the routes that you don't have using Kubernetes. And other advantages is that it's using the same technologies behind Podman. So when you are using Kind, for example, you may have the containerd running with Docker technologies, while here you have the same stack than Podman. Another advantage is really the inner loop that you have, because if you are using Kind, for example, you are not able to see directly the images that you are building using your local Podman setup.
Mhm.
So in case of the inner loop, it's much more powerful to use a microshift because you just build the image locally and it's already there in your microshift cluster.
Nice. Thank you. That was a good explanation. Yeah, I saw it in the demo and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But I didn't know that was just for the microchip. But yeah, awesome.
So why it's possible? It's because we are able to share the same volumes, and
Mhm.
as they are using the same technologies, the microshift cluster sees the images folder and is able to read the folder and then can expose your image.
Nice. That's cool.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Fran, for recording these for us. I think they were pretty good. All right. If no more questions on this topic, I would like to move to the next, which are the UX updates, changes, discussions. Vaslav, would you like to share the screen?
Yes, I would like to. Hey, everyone. I would like to share the screen, and I will share it maybe twice. Once in Spline 3D, the 3D modulation animation application, and once in Figma. But before I do so, I would like to say hi to everyone who doesn't know me, because I haven't said a word here yet on these calls except of a hi and bye. So I'm Václav. I'm a design engineer here, and I would like to show you a couple of things, most notably something about our new design system that is coming soon. It will be a lot of work, and I would like to show you on our calls how we progress in regards of that. So the first thing which is now in the queue is I would like to show you something about our 3 million download site. You know, that's the 3D that Matt showed at the beginning of this call. Would like to show you how it's actually done. So first, if you follow our tickets on GitHub, you would see that the that we first wanted to create that as 2D animated pixel art seals. I hope that I would animate that and do that in Pixie.js or some kind of a WebGL or WebGPU thing. And frankly, I failed. And we needed to have this fast. So I know something about Pixie. I made a couple of things in Pixie, but well, I hope that I would vibe code it in with something else like shaders, because well, pixel art needs shaders and animation stuff like that. And as how it is with vibe coding, I failed. Well, the vibe coding failed and it didn't work at all, and we were almost out of the time. So what I did instead is that because I have Spline 3D, which is a great application, I will write here in chat how it's called, Spline 3D. I would like to show you how the site is actually done. And it's a fun thing. So let me share the screen here real fast. So Spline, and let me find a window. So sure, I hope you can see this. If not, please shout. So this is Spline. I hope you can see something because this is, I suppose, heavily compressed. But what you can see here, maybe you can, is a planet in the background. I can play this here. You will see that this is animating. These seals are here. Initially, what we had here was that the seals reacted to the mouse. So you can move the mouse around and the seals would rotate and stuff like that. But that was frankly too much. So that was really something what that would be, I mean, maybe even disturbing. So I would like to show you what is going on here. There is this mobile version, which is made for narrow breakpoints. Then there is this wide one, and it's switched by a small script. And then there is this UI. So the sad thing about Spline is that it's not very powerful in terms of UI, and I had to have two versions of these text blurbs, so they are displayed on mobile and wide web, and it doesn't scale well. It's like, unfortunately, there is nothing like proportional sizing or percentage or something like that. So instead, what I have is I have two scenes, one for mobiles and one for wide screens. I will just like to show you how it works here. So Spline is really powerful for all kinds of small things. And there is the camera, and there is this thing which is now hidden. I will show you real quick that this is the 3 million thing that appears on the animation. And then there is this planet with a very simple particle system, which is so fun to use. And there's some masking, so you don't see actually the seals in the background. You can see only seals on the foreground. But check the particle emitter out. So there are things like how large the seals need to be, how many of them are. And it's so powerful. I mean, this is so performant. Well, I was slightly worried when I saw Matt presenting his screen. I hope it's not so slow on his computer and it's just because of Zoom is compressing or something. So I really hope it works for everyone. But I just wanted to show you how we use Spline for things here. We also have some iconography powered by Spline. Doesn't mean that the icon is rendered in Spline. It's just a part of the process. And then comes things like Figma, Photoshop, stuff like that. Recently Apple changed the icon appearance and we need to react to that. And Spline is part of that. I don't think we would have something like a glass logo because that's what usually is done now in icons, but let's see how it goes. So that's the first thing about Spline. And let's go on with the other application. Let me share again and I will try to find Figma. So I would like to give you a small update about our design system. And let's start with colors. So, we would like to refresh the design system, the application, and there is a lot of things we can do, and we are totally aware of that. And to make a good design system that works not just in the code, but also in Figma, in our case, this is Figma, is that we need to start from foundations. One of the really important foundations to do right is colors. The other one is, of course, icons and spacings and border ready and stuff like that. But colors come first. So what I've been trying to do here is not just to come up with a more modern color system, which is still pretty much based on whatever we already have, but something what is more friendly to people who have accessibility needs. So what we are doing here is that we are introducing a light high contrast themes and dark high contrast themes. I will show you something more about this column later. But, you know, this is just a couple of colors for now. They are based on a few selected colors out of the Tailwind 4 color palette. So you can see things like zinc here and lime, which were not previously in Tailwind. And what you see here is that, well, let me show you the names here. So this is the window background, things like the icon ink for general color, general icons, separators, stuff like that, and the names from Tailwind. Then there is the light theme, the light high contrast, as I said, the dark and dark high contrast. And my main goal is to make sure that these colors that are displayed in the application really follow the guidelines, the accessibility guidelines. That means that for normal appearance, they follow the 3:1 contrast ratios, and in high contrast themes, it's even 4.5. So everybody should be happy. It's not just colors. It's things like that icons shouldn't rely only on colors to change the meaning. We need to be clever about all sorts of things that people who have problems seeing color can see, and also people who basically don't see well are better. And we really need to follow these guidelines, and I hope that soon you will see the impact, you will see the changes in the application. As I said, here's the fifth column. Let me show you real quick how it works. So in Figma, what we have is variables. These variables are defined here and shared across other files like the icons, windows, and settings and other, which I will show you shortly. So let's see here the traffic light, stuff like that. And here are these colors. So this is the light, high contrast, dark, high contrast. And how it is really useful is that, let's say, I will show you the toolbar. And what we can do is change the appearance. Now this is automatic, and I can change this to, let's say, the dark, and see this column changed. And I can immediately see if I define the colors correctly. This is just a minor thing, but really helps to show that how the particular color works in high contrast and other themes. So let me switch back to light so I don't break things here. There is also a couple of more colors that are coming soon to status icons and other places like the status OK, warning, and error. As I said, they are now based on Tailwind 4 color palette, which is really lovely and got some really nice contrast ratios. So here's the light high C and dark HC, and testing again. So that's the colors. Please stop me anytime. If you have any questions, I would like to answer all the questions if you have them. If not, I shall go on. And there are icons, so we will have new icons. It's a lot of work, and it will take some time. But we have to start somewhere, right? So first, we have new tray icon colors. Again, light high contrast, dark high contrast. And this is now the tray icons for the Mac and so on, the new symbols for status icons that will be not used just in the tray menu, but also in other places in the application. We also have new settings icons that I will show you shortly when I am here at this settings file. But these are the new icons that we have there. Let's see how it goes. These icons are defined in this file and shared across all the files. So whenever we change the icon here, it changes everywhere in Figma. Now, the main thing is that these icons are vector-based, and we export SVG files that will be used in the application. A nice thing about SVG compared to PNG, which I used before when I worked on other products, is that we can colorize them in code. PNG files were really complex, but they had some perks as well, like when the icon was particularly small, like 16 by 16 pixels, not points, which is twice as large, actually 4 times, twice, and twice. These small images allowed us to have very subtle pixel sharp graphics like slashes, stuff like that. And I can even draw icons in Asprite. Asprite is my tool of choice when I want to create really small graphics. Yeah.
There's a question in chat. The question
I
is,
cannot see chat, so sorry.
Yeah. Are the icons designed in Spline 3D?
Not at all. Spline is not really good for these things. Instead, Spline is really good for application icons. So what we do is that for some products that use that, and we want to have, let's say, an icon that very much feels at home on macOS and other platforms, then we render them in 3D. So that's where it works. It also works on small sites, microsites like the 3 million downloads. And I personally use it for all kinds of things when I need to draw something which, well, it's a good, simple 3D application, not as powerful as like Blender, but for what I need, it works really well. But for these small icons, this is really everything is in Figma. And everything is exported from Figma to SVGs, and the SVGs are then optimized with SVG-O, so they don't contain all those things that are usually in SVGs, like chunks that are not used. And so SVG-O really helps here. It's sort of think like what I do with PNG files. I optimize. Even in 2025, I still optimize all my PNGs in ImageOptim because I don't want to share things like color profiles if it doesn't make sense. Or I don't know, there could be a lot of things in EXIF. That's the place where these information is in PNG files, like even things like my geolocation. I don't want to share that. So I'm also a bit paranoid. So I strip all this information out. And SVG is really beneficial in regards to preparing optimized images, both SVGs for the application. So no, not Spline, but Figma all the way. We initially tried PenPot, but we decided not to use that. Even PenPot is really lovely, and it's a great sort of a Blender-like, I mean, open source thing. Like Figma really needs a competition, but we need to be fast. We need to have a product that is not so buggy. Sorry to PenPot, and that's something where we can use the design system better. There are a couple of gaps in PenPot that prohibit us from using it for our design. So instead we use Figma. And with that, I would like to invite you to these Figma files, what I forgot, and I cannot do that right here because I cannot see the chat, so I cannot add anything to the chat. But I would like to share with you the links to these documents. So what I would like the community to help me with is that if you have anything to say about a particular detail, there are always links to our Figma files where you can comment. And I would very much welcome you coming there and be with us there, so you see what we work on and what is coming. So whenever possible, I post a link to GitHub with these links. I actually think I can see the chat. Whoa, what a feature! So there were a couple of questions. Let me see that real quick. Is it possible to see the Tailwind color name rather than the value of the color in Figma? Yes, we will get there. There is something called dev mode in Figma. It works like this. So you can select a file and a layer. And here's, I don't use it often, but let me see. It just changed. It's here, it's the code. And let's see how it works. There is this preview panel SVG, the output, you can copy that to clipboard. Things like, yes, you can do that directly from here. And you also, let's say if there is a design right here, I will talk about this in a bit. You can actually select this, let's say this wall container and see the dev mode. So these colors are there. Here we have hex codes, and what is this thing here? Let me see. This is also P3, but for your Floran, for your question, following your question, I will make sure that what the developers get here is the Tailwind color or whatever we come up with. This is highly configurable. And let's see what we can do there. And I would like us to really see, yeah. If it doesn't work, I will write an extension to show our colors here. So no worries about that. We will get there. So let's go back to icons. Well, as I said, they are prepared in 4 different appearances to make the contrast ratio good enough. Let's move on very quickly. I don't know how much time we have. I promise that this will be 15 minutes. Rigita, is this still fine? We have 28 minutes.
Yes, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so another foundation of a good design system for native applications, I mean, not the web applications. This is needed for a native application designed to look good in Figma. This is not what you can see here are windows on all our 3 platforms we support. Desktop platforms, I mean, this is macOS, Windows, and KDE Plasma. This is not what lands in the code. This is for us designers. So we have an actually working, real-life looking window where we can design stuff. And the goal is that the wall appearance of the application looks like, the Figma document looks like how it would look in real life. And for that, I have these 4 themes here on macOS. On Windows, it's the same thing, and their high contrast and dark and low normal standard contrast are the same. On Linux, there's a whole story behind accessibility on Linux, so we also have only light and dark. And on Mac, we have the high contrast. Let me zoom a bit. This is light, dark, high contrast light, high contrast dark. And there are a couple of other layers like the traffic lights and status bar and stuff. What I would like to show you is a funny thing. So we have this Windows and Linux and so on. Let me just copy this frame here and I will show you a funny thing. So this is a window that is a foundation for other things. So you can, of course, scale it like very fast. You know, one of the things when you design, you don't want to really spend time on low performance. So I can show you that this is actually, I just toggled the vector view to the document. What you can see here is a 9 scale, if you know that from Android and other platforms, 9 scale way of showing rectangles. Those are corners here, 4 corners, and tiling bitmaps on top, in the middle, horizontally and vertically. So when I scale the window, you can see that this is actually moving the corners horizontally and vertically and scaling the middle images here, which are actually PNGs. These shadows are not done in Figma because that would be so slow. I mean, not so slow because Figma is particularly good. It would be much slower in other applications. But see, this is actually a PNG file, which makes it super fast. That's the first thing. And what I would like to show is something else. So here, you already saw that on colors here, when I showed that we can test the color on different themes. What you can see here is you can change the appearance. So we have things like light high contrast immediately switches to the high contrast or dark high contrast. So what it means is that if you put anything inside this window, it will inherit this theme selection, and the wall UI can switch just very quickly between these 4 themes. So this is super useful when you want to target different themes, including the high contrast. And I would like to, let me remove that so I don't break things. Let me show that here in this example. So this is the first design that we have now, well, almost the first, one of the first ones, which is, I will also post the link to the GitHub issue not here in the chat because I don't have it in clipboard, but I will do that, let's say on YouTube or where the video is, so you can see that. So what we have here now is that we wanted to investigate if there is a way to highlight that we have a troubleshooting section, which is very much currently hidden in the lower right menu here. So I use the opportunity to not just change the appearance because we needed to have something like this shorthand icon, but also refresh the appearance of this middle column. you can safely ignore this part and this part and this part, and of course the status bar. This is here just for the aesthetic reasons, so it's not empty. But of course, this will be a part of the redesign. We will get there. But for now, I would like to show you this part here. So as I showed you in the Windows file here, we can easily switch and scale the themes and scale the windows. So I have all 4 themes right now here, the light, dark, high contrast light, and high contrast dark. And it's so simple to change this that we can immediately see if the design works on all 4 themes. And of course, as I said, we can easily scale like this because, well, everything is done from scratch with Figma, and we can easily test the scaling, and everything is responsive inside the comps. So, do you have any questions so far? Because we are almost done. I mean, I have the one last thing to show. So if you don't have any questions, I don't see any. I would like to show one thing, which we will talk more about later. So you know what is coming as well, a new status bar, which is in progress. We will see how it goes. There are things that we would like to revisit and improve in this regard. So you can see things like light theme, dark theme with a high contrast. See? Also, check this out. So here's the progress bar and a different progress bar for high contrast. So for people who could potentially have problems seeing this gray area here, which, you know, it's the contrast is good enough, but not the best. Like, that's a thing that I have good eyes, and I still suffer on my phone on iOS that some progress bars, you don't see the end of them. You don't see where the progress bar ends. So what is the message if you don't know how large the status bar is? So some people can actually not see this gray area here. So for these people who enable high contrast, I have a different progress bar here that shows the wall length with just a line. So you can see it here and in the dark theme. We will get there. I will talk more about that on some of the coming community calls, but that's it for today. Thank you.
That was great, Václav. Thank you. Very informative. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
I don't see any questions. All right. I see Nathan, Rom, Laura, you have joined today. I was wondering if you had any comments, feedback on how the community meeting is going on, anything that you would like to see in future meetings, any suggestions that you would have. We'd be really happy to listen to you. Thank you, Nathan. All right. Okay, so I think we can conclude our community meeting for today. Our next meeting is going to be on October 23rd, 9 to 10 a.m. EST. The messages or the information for those, agenda for those would come up soon. If you have any suggestions or topics that you would like to discuss, please add to those. Laura is trying to mention, sorry. Laura mentioning it might be fun to go through some of the various issues folks can help contribute to. We could list them out. We have done that in the past, but we could list them out again. We have a label called Good First Issues on our website. On our repo issues, and those would be something users can contribute towards. We are also looking at Hacktober Fest, which is in the next month, as Matt has mentioned. Those would also have, those would be good to go through during that time frame. Does that answer the question, Laura? Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else anybody else would like to add? All right. Thank you, everybody, for taking your time and joining the meeting. We'll see you next month.